Welcome to the Business Finland webinar for Situational Awareness. This is a series of webinars where we discuss Finland's offering for situational awareness solutions and technologies. This is the second in the series. Last week we talked about generic offering that the Finnish companies have, and today we're going to talk about what situational awareness can do for the forestry industry. Before we get to the day's agenda, I want to quickly go through the house rules. So everyone is muted, but you can ask questions via the GoToWebinar Q&A function. You can type in your question anonymously if you want, but you can also put your name and company there. I won't read your name and company out loud, but it's for us in case we want to follow up with you later if you have an interesting question or a suggestion for an activity. Today, we're going to have 3 speakers from 3 different companies, Terramonitor, CollectiveCrunch, and Mosaic Mill. So each person will present their company, and then afterwards we'll have a Q&A and a lively panel discussion where we talk about the situational awareness for forestry in general, and then this company offerings in particular. Without further ado, let's start with our first speaker, Mr. Joni Norppa. He is the CEO and founder of Terramonitor. And I will make you a presenter so you can start sharing your presentation, and also if you want to turn on your video so we can see you.
Yeah. Can you hear me? See me?
We can hear you, we can see you.
Great. Hi everybody, my name is Joni Norppa, as presented, and I'm a founder and CEO in Terramonitor. Thank you for being able to join this call and present our company here.
Joni, are you able to share that? Oh, here we go. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a bit of delay between the slides, but yeah, it should be coming. Yeah. So a few words about myself at first. I've been doing business with satellite data for past few years. I have a background in corporation, from the corporation world. I've been doing business development, administration, and sales mainly in different companies. Now with the space data, I got involved with about this space data through a research project that I joined as a consultant, and now it has came up like a steady job for me and a few other people. In Terramonitor, we are actually creating the platform that currently consists of like 100 million single satellite images that we can utilize different ways. There can be mapping products or data products that I will show you later on a bit more. We are located here in Helsinki, in the capital area of Finland, and we have been mainly working in North America and in Europe, and some also in East Asia and Africa as well. So how it all started was that, why we do this is that we noticed that most of the geographical data usually is outdated. So everybody uses Google Maps, for example, and there's an image of a forest in Google Maps. That's actual image that I took today from Google. And there's actually been a lot of construction done in this area, in Helsinki area. There's a few other examples as well, like the Russian-based mapping company called Yandex. And you can see that they actually have a bit different kind of image of the situation here. And there actually has been a lot of forest cutting going on there, and something is happening in the area. Then there is a Hair Maps that actually has a pretty recent image. Yes, there's some building already to be seeable, and you see that the forest is lost. But actually, when I took the image from our servers today, this is how it actually looks like at the moment. So in a nutshell, like whole forested area, it is like 30 hectares is lost, and there's a new building and area of a lot of people and a lot of new houses, and it's not visible in most of the services that we use at the moment. And it's a very common problem in rural areas, but also in urban areas in modern world. So how do we see this? We call it space data, and we see the thing in a way that we utilize the data coming from space, basically from the satellites. We enrich, pre-process the data and create space data out from it. At the moment, there is a lot of hype in launching new satellites and making new constellations, and we think that the future of space data is that nobody can actually handle this amount of data without utilizing APIs and machine learning algorithms to produce information that is needed for forestry applications or other. So what we actually do, we have automated processes for acquiring the data from the space. So basically we take the raw data from the servers. We do pre-processing in a way that it is usable for the further use. And we produce two different kind of products. The visualization products is basically different kind of maps. They can be like neutral color maps that we see in the Google, or they can be some thematic maps that is used for a lot of applications in forestry, for example, to detect loggings or detect tree species or some other things from the forests. Or then it can be data products. It can be provided as an API to some existing system to enrich the database in other systems, for example, to do further analyzing or such. And this whole process is, our focus and mission is to automatize the whole process from acquiring to providing analyzing ready data for our customers. So here are the few examples, some sneak peeks about the mapping products that we have. We use multi-source data from different satellites. We have been using mainly European-based satellites, European Space Agency, Airbus, and from the US or North America, the Maxar, Digital Globe, and the Planet data for doing different kind of products based on those data. We have done some forest inventory. It's very useful, especially for the large areas that are not accessible by ground, or the areas are so large that the inventory is, there is no point making it on the field, and you can scale the inventory utilizing space data. We have reached actually pretty good results on a stand level, up to a 10% accuracy in volumes. But it varies and depends on the cases and then the tree species and such. For many GIS companies that is doing applications or business with forestry, we provide this kind of analyzing ready data. And what is like significant or different compared to other maybe similar kind of companies providing satellite data is that we actually use a lot of time series to produce different kind of data sets for the companies. So it includes the processing part or doing the pixel by pixel mosaicing of the large areas. We just did the whole forested areas of Russia, for example, using this methodology. We have also developed change detection services, so basically detecting biomass changes in forestry. This is something that we did with the Finnish government a few years, and here are the results that we achieved. So we actually, there was two other competitors, and we did the results were that we actually got almost 30% more hits. So basically meaning that we detected 30% of more loggings, and our accuracy was 98% compared to the other competitors. And this was done based on the automated detection system. Here are some like sneak peeks about the applications that we have done. Related to forestry, we are currently working with the European Space Agency related to detecting different kind of management activities in forest. We have a project ongoing in Canada related to wildfires, detecting and analyzing the wildfires in Canada, and many more other applications also other than forestry as well. So where we can support or help you with is utilizing this base data. So our mission, our goal is to make this kind of complex issue very easy to use. So if you have need for your system or your business that you would like to have a new kind of data sets, you would like to have a like visual of your forest assets, we can provide that to you with the common used protocols and data forms. It can be maps or data or some kind of other visualization, maybe videos on indexes of your forested areas, for example. And I said that we do different kind of analyzing and things like that, and we are always happy to help if needed. They said to me that keep it short, that there is also time for discussions later on. So thank you. This was very short introduction to our company. There's my contacts. If you want to contact me straightly, please go ahead, and thank you for watching.
Thank you, Joni. That was really, really fascinating. Let's keep moving so we can get to the discussion part. Our next speaker is Mr. Rolf Schmitz. He's the CEO of CollectiveCrunch. Let me find you, Rolf, and promote you as a presenter. There we go. And
yes,
now, yes, we can see your screen. Let me turn off my video. Okay, we can see your screen, and here you go ahead.
Thank you very much. So Rolf Schmitz, I'm the CEO of CollectiveCrunch. We are a, oops, not changing here, hold on. We are a Finnish-German AI company founded in 2016. We have a total of 2 million euros raised, partially by public funds from Finland and partially equity investment in the company. We are focused on AI-based solutions for forestry and insurance, and have customers in Nordics, Baltics, and have strong interest in the last 2 quarters from Canada in particular, and Europe. It's a team of 12. We're just going to 14 and have 8 freelancers. We have corporate background, corporate and startup background. 3 co-founders are in here. I'm the CEO of the company, taking care of funding, marketing, sales outside of Finland. Thank you very much for letting me introduce the company. In terms of endorsements, we've been listed as a top Finnish AI company for the 3rd year running now. It's a very active market in Finland, and we're very excited to have been included in this ranking. We've won a Copernicus Land Monitoring Prize by the European Commission for the adaptation of satellite data into a business model. And that intro aside, our product, getting into the product, Linda Forest is the brand of the product. And I wanted to start with the problems that we solve. First, forest inventories. By conventional methods, you go out, do sampling, cruising, you drive out, try to understand what is there to plan harvesting, to plan forest management, if that is something that you do. And that's expensive and still not very accurate. The second problem is that climate change is having a very substantial impact on forest health. Stronger storms are causing pests, bark beetle in particular. Longer seasons lead to more generations per season that bark beetles are active. This is sort of creeping up the US Canadian hemisphere and causing lots and lots of damages. And the third is CO2 trading. Governments, NGOs, companies are looking to offset their CO2 footprint. And when you know the forest inventory, you can you can calculate that. But if you don't, basically you rely on a paper-based process, manual paper-based process that takes, and it's quite expensive. And every 4 years, somebody tells you, goes out and tells you what you have and what the CO2 capture performance was. But between those 3-4 years, you're flying blind. If the forests have been damaged by storm or or fire, you effectively will not discover until somebody goes out again. So situational awareness is a good concept in this. So how do we do it? There are some similarities to what Joni just said. Terramonitor and us are partner companies. We make use of some of their optical information, optical data, and we see ourselves more as data integrators. So we take climate data, we take aerial or other optical information, we take infrared, LiDAR if it exists, harvester data, stand information, soil elevation, and we've created a 120 plus data layers GIS system that makes use of any data set that we can get our hands on, partially public like satellite data, partially commercially acquired, not by us, but by our partners generally, or customers, like LiDAR data. And we've created a dynamic machine learning based model that is 3 orders of magnitude more data rich, more complex than conventional methods that exist in forestry at this point in time. From a user perspective, it looks a bit like Google Maps. You have a browser-based access that you're being given. We're looking here at a section of Finland. We create a 10 by 10 meter raster that has specific information about total wood volume, about the mix of species, about assortments, meaning pulp versus saw logs, and stem counts, stem dimensions, dominant species, and things like that, to give you optimal information about a forest inventory, about your land. And basically, our system, Linda Forest, is now more accurate than the systems that are used by conventional methods by the large players in the Nordics at this point in time. In terms of customers, 5 of the top 10 Nordic forestry players are our customers. 1 is under negotiation. We have discussions with insurance companies and CO2 trading companies where we expect public announcement in the next 1 or 2 quarters. I want to point out in particular Metsähallitus here. You don't need to learn that name. We can short it for MH if somebody wants to refer to it in a question. This is a multi-year AI partnership. It's sort of our anchor and lead customer. This has been going on for 2 years now in development. They're using the system at this point in time. They continue to invest in development, product new features, and so forth. And other customer examples are Dasos Capital, which is an investment fund, alternative investment fund based in Finland. Tornator is a customer, and basically we're just at the process of working from Finland, Nordics towards Baltics. And of course, this is not your home, so a few words on USA, Canada. We're putting in place a partnership with a Canadian partner. That partner is identified. We are at the moment in the process of adaptation of Linda Forest to local market needs. We do see interest in CO2 sequestration, capture, verification. We do see interest in forest inventories, particularly for leasing transactions in Canada, but also for harvest planning in the US. And we see risk management as a strong component there. And our market entry in terms of signatures and public announcements, we expect in Q3 or Q4 of this year. And I believe that's pretty much what I had. And I'm very happy to take questions. Here are my details and a LinkedIn QR code if you want to take a picture of that. And that is what I had prepared. And thank you very much for your attention. I'm more than happy to take questions whenever the allotted time is reached. And again, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Rolf. Yeah, the CO2, we'll get back to the CO2. But I want to give the word to our third presenter today, Mr. Ismo Hippi. I will make you a presenter. You should be able to now share your screen and also your video. Are you able to turn on your video, Ismo? There you are. Thank you very much. So another AI-based solution company called Mosaic Mill, talking about product called Treewise. Go ahead, Ismo. Oh, you're muted. We can't hear you. Can you unmute?
Okay,
Now it works.
Okay, now it's better. So I'm Ismo Hippi from Mosaic Mill company. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm presenting this treewise service over here. And over here I have the slide presentation. So treewise service, it is a joint service by our company, Mosaic Mill, and Simosol Ltd. They are our partner company here in Finland. We are both Helsinki-based or Helsinki region-based companies. And actually we are working in many countries already, so I think in all continents. And our treewise is already operative in Finland and in Canada, and now we are expanding to new areas. And these are our promises. So when we are making forest inventory, we measure every tree and we give the ultimate accuracy and with high-end IA algorithms. We are fast and our service is easy and practical. And these are also the facts which differ us maybe from our competitors. So how are our services changing the forest planning? Well, we were already talking about field inventory, so this is something we want to decrease, and we are replacing field inventories with drones. So this is drone-based inventory, not satellite images. So more detailed data means better planning and of course better business results. And because we are now mapping each tree, it enables us to make three-dimensional virtual forestry. So it is possible then to apply that information, for example, in harvesting machines. So how our process is going? So we have forest owner or plantation estate owner. So they have a need for forest inventory and up-to-date forest plans. Or perhaps there has been a natural hazard. So we have then a local drone operator. It can be actually a fleet of that forest company, or they can be private operators. So they are making survey according to our specs, and then there is the cloud service treewise.ai, where we are making this reporting. In the red part over here, I have listed some of the products like tree maps, management and harvesting plans, regeneration report. We are making storm damage, insect damage reports, fire damage reports, and of course aerial mosaic, because we are making it with drone. Because we are now talking about drones, there are many alternatives. I just wanted to show you couple examples. If we start from the right side, there is very cheap DJI drone, which is possible to use in our mapping. Or in the left side, there is hybrid electric gas drone, which is flying over 2 hours, and that is able to carry several sensors. If we are talking about large scale plantations, for example, it can fly up to 3,000 hectares in one flight. So then couple examples. Storms, they are getting more common because of climate change. Local drone operators, they can fly almost immediately after the storm. And then in our cloud, we are able to process the volumes of remaining stock and the damaged stock. we are able to make regeneration reports. These are in many countries compulsory, like in Finland we have to do it. In US I know that you have to do it in many areas. It is rapid, accurate, and I think it's the most cost-effective method to monitor regeneration of forest. Management plans. This is maybe the most complete package of our service. We are starting from drone inventory. We are making tree maps, and then finally we are making management plans, harvesting plans, silvicultural treatment proposals, etc. So this is very important over here in Finland. We are doing it already now in Canada, and this is something for the plantations and I think also for US forest owners. Pest and disease mapping, this is very important. Because of climate change, there are more and more difficulties with insects. And you can see over here, all those white trees, they are dead. And we can automatically map the volume of those dead ones and also the remaining stock which is still living. Forest fire damages, this is very important in your country. So immediately after the fire, we are able to go and monitor how much there is still remaining and how much is damaged. So this is important for the industry and also the forest owner to understand what is the situation and what kind of action should be taken. This was very quick presentation of our activities. Again, hopefully you have lots of questions to ask afterwards.
Thank you, Ismo.
Thank you.
Let me grab the presenter right away from it, but please keep your video on. Also, Joni, if you want to turn your video on. Unfortunately, Rolf had issues with the video, so we cannot see your face today, but please unmute yourself so we can start the discussion. I'm going to start from the very last one, Ismo, with treewise.ai. So I think the technology is quite clear though. So it's drone-based mapping. It's extremely accurate inventory down to the level of one tree. What kind of business model or operation model are you offering? Are you only offering the cloud and you expect someone to take care of the data collection, so flying the drones and then feeding the images into the system? What happens after that?
Yes, so over here in Scandinavia and in North Europe, we have our own fleet of drones. But in North America, for example, we expect forest owner to have own fleet, so or arrange a third-party operator.
Yeah, I think this probably sounds like a business opportunity for a US-based drone operator to be partnering with you. It's probably easier for the landowner, the forest owner, to get the whole package. Still remaining on the treewise.ai, so you do the data collection, but the data analysis, is that order-based? So for example, somebody wants to do the regeneration monitoring. Can you just pull out that data, or do you have ready-made data packages that people have to purchase, even if they don't want all of the analysis that is possible to do?
No, we can process that information they are looking after.
So
if they're interested only of the regeneration, then we are also only processing that part.
Okay, are you offering like a SaaS-based platform model, or is it the project-based business model?
We have a map interface where we are getting the orders, and we are also providing results back through that map interface.
Oh, okay. What about CollectiveCrunch and Terramonitor? Same question to you. What is the business model? How does a company, if they want to use your services, Let's start with Joni. You were the first one to speak.
Yes, thank you. So yes, part of our products are solely based on the SaaS model. So we have the platform that we can utilize for. The pricing starts basically for the mapping products starts from the few thousand licensing annually. But then for some of the projects, especially in the forestry segment, you always have to do some retailing and customizing for those projects, but to give some kind of like limits. But yes, our business model is based on the licensing and SaaS model.
Okay, and Rolf, for the Linda?
Yep.
Linda product or other products?
It's a SaaS model, browser access. We aim this as very large players who make day-to-day decisions. So the system is used day in, day out. It is part of the operations of our customers, and it is paid on a monthly or annual basis. And the pricing scales with area covered. And the pricing for a forest inventory is in the roundabout, broadly speaking, in the euro per hectare region.
Okay. So Rolf, you said you're kind of the data integrator. To me, that sounds like, and you talked about the 120 different layers, up to 40 years in history of different, data points. That sounds like larger scale projects, and you're working with the Finland's government, MH, the governmental body that controls forests. Would you also be willing to go outside of the SaaS model and making like a longer term tailor-made projects, for example, a state in the US, let's say California, that's having issues?
That's a very good point. So, I mean, it is SaaS based in the infrastructure of the product, but we do have differences between products. Let's say the market in Estonia, to pick an example, is slightly different to the market in Finland. We do see, from what we know now in Canada, slightly different requirements. So one is that there might be different feature sets in combination. And if there are partners, particularly large partners, who have specific needs, be it API integration, be it specific analytics features, then we tailor that to them. So it's not a one size fits all, but it's more the infrastructure that is SaaS. Okay.
And then what about the input side? So question to Joni and to Rolf as well, because Ismo, we know where your data comes from drones. So for example, is it possible that you might want to partner with somebody who is already providing the images or other data points that you would be on the purchasing side of the value chain? Or do you have the inputs, data points, you have all of that covered globally?
Well, if I may answer,
sure.
Of course, yeah. Of course, as a startup, we are always looking for customers, but of course also partnering with the corporations and organizations that could utilize our services and products, but also provide us information how to enter, for example, the US market, because it's a big market, big opportunity for us, and we are looking for this kind of partnership as well. Our role, like Rolf said that they are like an integrator, so our role is like being like a translator of space data. So we see it in that point of view, that the ideal customer or ideal partner for us would be someone actually being in the forestry segment, doing business in the forestry segment, for example, because we could provide some additional data and enrich the information that already exists with the space data.
If I add our angle to this, we generally have not seen a need for data acquisition as such, because quite often we just integrate the data that exists in our customers. And I said, we go back in time in the data set, so we can effectively, if there's been a LiDAR measurement 3 years back, then we roll back the satellite data to 3 years and learn on that basis. In terms of partners, if there is, somebody locally, a LiDAR company that wants to sort of, have a broader use case of the LiDAR or any other data set, be it drone, that could be of interest. What we've seen, we have partnerships in place in Sweden, where we have a forestry consulting, technology consulting company. I think that is sort of a sweet spot for us because consulting firms quite often struggle with, and I come from consulting partially in my career, you do a good job and then the report ends up in the drawer. That's unfortunate. And this Swedish partner of ours, ForestX is the company, they effectively help integrating leading products. So when they're done with their work, the product is in the process. So it's very sticky and the value is being created. So that is a fairly natural partner for us. And actually the partner that we have in Canada on the ground at the moment, they come from the financial industry. And of course, forest inventories, all of that ultimately leads to business models. And so the partner that we have comes from that part of the world.
Interesting. Ismo, I was going to ask you the same question as well. So what if you were looking for channel partners or maybe even research and development partners, what would that look like?
Yes, so of course, especially species interpretation sometimes needs lots of research. So that is where we are looking research partners in North America. Then of course we are looking partners for this drone operating part. Yes, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That is really interesting because the role of these webinars is for Business Finland to promote Finnish companies, but at the same time we want to invite US companies to partner with our Finnish collaborators. Going back to the tech partnering, Joni, you mentioned open source. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the open source component is? Because a lot of customers don't necessarily like open source. They want to keep their, make sure that their own data is theirs. But then of course the developers love open source because they can share and develop in a community.
Yeah, well, there are like few angles to open source. When talking about like data availability of that, there's a lot of good open source satellite data available, and you can utilize that. When it comes to open source in general, I think the big data and open source and utilizing machine learning, it all comes to that the information that you have to get something more out of it. Well, we have been cooperating, for example, with CollectiveCrunch, and they utilize the similar models. And our part in that process is actually bringing in the new data sets for the use of the open source data. And with the satellite data, you can actually scale up the geographical area very easily. So, for example, that you have your own field measurements and plot measurements, you can do the model based on those and do some kind of inventory based on the open source satellite data, or enrich that with the LiDAR and such to provide even more accurate results.
That's really interesting. And can you remind me, you showed the Yandex Here Maps and Google Maps. Those were just examples of various outputs, right? So you're not talking about an input in that context.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. My point in that was that actually there is a lot of geographical data available, but at the moment the biggest challenge, there are like two challenges utilizing satellite data. The other one is that the geographical data usually is outdated. So if you don't know the right sources where to find the right information, your data and information about your first assets, for example, can be outdated. But then maybe even a bigger challenge for our customers, why we actually started the business, was that many of the companies don't know how to utilize in an operational level this kind of data coming from the satellites.
Yeah, they're really fascinating examples. We're running out of time. I really wanted to keep this under 45 minutes, but I want to talk about the CO2 trading. things. Rolf, I think you were the ones to mention it in first, and Ismo, you alluded to it as well. How does that, if people, not everyone is familiar how that works, how does that work on a global level, and how could you know, situational awareness be utilized to help that information?
It's a complex topic, and I want to narrow it down to a specific angle to it. We're not dealing with the state red plus kind of things where states and sort of deal subsidies with each other and so forth. We're aiming this at corporates that want to offset their CO2 footprint. They are, in that sense, less regulated. They need to make statements that are credible in their annual reports to their shareholders and so forth. So we're not talking about the world that's regulated by the UN and World Bank and things like that. We're talking about something that is auditable by a KPMG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, to basically say, we put this in our annual report, this is about right, thank you very much. And that is something that a lot of companies are interested in, but they don't quite know how to do it. At the moment, you send out a forester, you can, by the business model underlying, you can afford that every 4 years. Between those 4 years, you are flying blind. You don't know, does that tree still, is that project of forest growth still standing? Has it been damaged? What is the performance? And if you are doing annual reports and you have 4-year windows of not really getting updates, then it's a very awkward thing for corporates to deal with. And also this sort of manual process is very expensive. So effectively, we learn these forests, and the delta in the forest inventory, i.e. the growth that has happened, is something that we can verify, and in that sense confirm on a growth cycle basis for big global corporates to have this kind of planning, security, and the kind of analytical accuracy that is adequate to go into a public statement of the company. So that's what we're looking to do. As I said, we've seen some interest in Canada. I don't want to go on forever here, Senator. You mentioned the time, but I'm more than happy to answer any interest in this offline, or to go a bit longer if you feel like it.
Let's ask our other panelists, do you have a comments on the CO2? I just want to mention as well that Google just announced that they've offsetted all of their historical CO2 emissions going back, and a lot of companies have committed to future offsetting their CO2s, and it's investor relationship management. So I can see that a lot of forestry companies might want to follow the suit in terms of getting more value, or getting their shareholder value up.
Yes, our benefit is, of course, that we are talking very rapid information after the survey. So we have some clients who are making mapping after every 3 months. So they know the CO2 level in a monthly level almost. So that is, of course, very, very good benefit also for their reporting.
Very good.
Yeah,
Joni,
just like a very short comment there, that of course the CO2 emissions and binding CO2 emissions is very hot topic at the moment, and we also have plans in that sector as well. And I think there's a real business opportunity. I actually heard from one of the first players in Finland that they are actually starting to provide this kind of like management targeting in 2 different ways. You can do it in commercial sense or in a green sense if you want to tie like CO2 emissions, for example, and that's coming like a sales point to them as well in the future. Yeah,
absolutely. Companies need to differentiate themselves. If you have a similar offering, you know, it could sometimes come to a very tiny advantage, and this could be it. Hey, thank you so much for our panelists. Thank you especially all of attendees. The session has been recorded and it's going to be made available to everyone. If you have any questions, you saw our speakers' emails on their presentation, so you can just click reply to the invite that you received from Business Finland to this webinar. Don't forget to sign up for our upcoming situational awareness webinar. So the next topic is going to be using situational awareness for maritime solutions. And then we're also looking into talking about disaster risk management as a separate topic. If you're interested in AI, because we had two AI-focused presentations today, we also have an AI webinar tomorrow on what Finland is doing in that front. So with this said, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, panelists. I'm going to let you go. I know it's late in the evening in Finland. Look forward to talking to you soon again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for hosting us.
Thank you.
Thank you.